integral minus pi to pi h d omega e to the power j omega n d omega. That is the definition of inverse DTFT. So if I give you any HD omega, you can obtain HDN using inverse DTFT relation. But in general, this HDN is of infinite duration. That we have already seen. In most of the cases, HDN will be of infinite duration. But we are interested in the design of FIR filters. So how to convert this IIR filter into an FIR filter? This you can do by multiplying this HDN by some window function. So now this H of n will be FIR. That's why the name windowing technique here. Now, typically this window is, the most commonly used window is, say, rectangular window. That means Wn is your Wn is 1 for n between 0 to n minus 1 and 0 otherwise. This is the, so essentially you are taking a window of this kind. It is 1 from 0 to m minus 1 and otherwise it is 0. So this will make this infinite duration impulse response to finite, and now HN is of finite duration. So this is by essentially a truncation kind of thing. You are truncating essentially your HDL, which is of infinite duration. But if you know very well that if you multiply two functions in time domain, what is their effect on the frequency domain? It will lead to convolution. So essentially your H omega will be convolution of desired frequency response with the frequency response of the window function. So say HD nu into window transform omega minus mu d nu. That is the actual frequency response obtained by windowing. This is the actual frequency response. This was the desired frequency response. So actual response is quite different from the desired using this windowing technique, because you are multiplying the HDN with window function Wn. Here it is in the time domain, and what is capital W? It is the frequency Fourier transform of this window function. In this equation, what is this capital W omega? It is the Fourier transform. What is HDN? What is capital HD omega? It is the Fourier transform of HDN. Is that clear? It's not great, great result, you must be knowing. If you multiply any two signals in time domain, this will lead to convolution in the frequency domain. So this leads to a phenomena which is called Gibbs phenomenon. This convolution, because generally this Fourier transform of the window function is showing an oscillatory behavior. This is the kind of frequency response of the window, rectangular window. It's not flat. So if you, let us say my HD omega H, an ideal low pass filter characteristics, this is my HD omega, ideal low pass filter. Then this gets convolved with this ideal impulse response and we will obtain an H omega of this kind. And maybe some ripples in the pass band as well. Pass band is also not flat. We wanted this filter, but what we are obtaining is some ripples here and of course some ripples in the top band. And they may not be of the same height, they may be of the decreasing height or they may be of the equal height and so on. So this oscillatory behavior of the frequency response within the pass band and in the stop band, this is called Gibbs phenomenon. Gibbs phenomenon. These oscillations, they also result in the Fourier series, truncation of the Fourier series. So this is also a truncation of the HDL, similar to the truncation of the Fourier series. Truncation of the Fourier series also leads to Gibbs phenomenon. And of course, if you remember, height of these ripples remains same. If you increase the window length or filter length, let us say I denote the filter length by n, and if I increase n, it may so happen that the ripples get concentrated near the edge boundary, but height peak amplitude of these ripples will remain same. What I am saying is that if I increase the order of the FIR filter, I am denoting the filter order by capital N, then this may lead to these oscillations to concentrate near. So initially you were having a very large oscillations near the transition band, but now it may so happen that after increasing M, the amplitude becomes, the ripples gets concentrated towards the discontinuity, but peak height remains unchanged as M is increased. This is the characteristic of this rectangular window, because increasing M will reduce the width of the main lobe. This is the width of the main lobe. This will reduce as M increases, but area under each lobe remains constant. So that's why the peak amplitude, so this discontinuity or ripples gets shifted towards discontinuity as M increases, but peak amplitude remains same. This is the characteristics of the Gibbs phenomena of the associated with the rectangular window. So the disadvantage of Gibbs phenomena can be removed by using some other windows which are rather tapered kind of thing. Say for example, you can use a triangular window to truncate, rather than using a rectangular window, you are using a triangular window. This triangular window is also called Bartlett. Bartlett window. So this will reduce the ripples in the pass band and near the discontinuity of the given filter, because we are using a more smooth transition of the infinite filter. So likewise, various windows have been proposed. Hamming window, Hamming window, Henning window, Bartlett window, Kaiser window, number of windows have been proposed in the literature for getting an FIR filter from HDL. So what we have essentially seen is H of n is HDL into windowing function. And the window can be rectangular window, Bartlett window, triangular window, Hamming window, Kaiser window. Number of windows have been proposed. KAISER. And equations of all these windows are given in the textbook. I am not writing them here because I don't expect you to remember all these windows except rectangular. So only rectangular window is in your course. Is that fine?
Yes, sir.
So some of the characteristics of these windows at least I can mention. I'm not writing down the equations of all these windows. They are available in the textbook. And I don't expect you to remember all these expressions of the Hamming window or Hamming window. Rectangular window is simplest. So you can at least remember this rectangular window. And characteristics of these windows is something like this. If you use rectangular window, the main lobe width is least is 4 pi upon m, where m is the order of the filter. But disadvantage is that side lobes reduction is not so significant. It is only minus 13 degree. Similarly, for Bartlett window, it is 8 pi by m. So side lobe is slightly more, but side lobe reduction is larger. Ideally, this should be infinite. Peak side lobe reduction should be minus infinity dB. Likewise, for Hamming window, it is again 8 pi by m, and let us say this is minus 32 degree. And last is for Blackman. So Blackman window, the side lobe is 12 by m, 12 pi by m, but this is the largest. So you see, you can improve only one of these two characteristics. Ideally, we should have largest side lobe reduction and smallest width of the main lobe. Because larger width of the main lobe means more transition bandwidth. More transition bandwidth. We like it to be as minimum as possible. So these two are the main characteristics which are desired. But they are not possible in a given window. Is that clear? So you have to make a compromise. The smallest transition width is provided by which window? Transition bandwidth सबसे कम किसकी है?
Rectangular.
रेक्टेंगुलर की. और सबसे बेस्ट साइड लॉब रिडक्शन किसमें आ रहा है? ब्लैकमैन में. बट दोनों हम एक साथ नहीं पा सकते, तो डिपेंडिंग अपॉन आवर गोल we can choose any one of the windows. Okay, coming to the, so this finishes our design of FIR filter by, so mainly, you know, it is a compromise kind of thing. Selection of window is of course an important characteristic. Selection of window will depend upon the our characteristics of the filter, whether what is the transition width you can tolerate, what is the side lobe ratio you desire. For example, if I desire 20 dB side lobe reduction, I cannot use rectangular window because it is providing only 13 dB attenuation of the side lobe. So I have to go for Bartlett or Hamming or Hamming. Is that fine? Coming to the next method, which is also very simple, is the linear phase FIR filter design by frequency sampling method. So as the name indicates, here we are only giving the samples of the given frequency response. I am not giving the complete frequency response of the filter, just the samples of it. So given my HD omega, I will not give this complete HD omega. I will only give the samples of this HD omega at omega k equal to 2 pi by m into k plus alpha, where alpha is constant. It is either 0 or 1. Don't confuse yourself with this alpha. It is only a simple number. But otherwise, 2 pi by m into k, DFT kind of thing. If alpha is 0, the frequency given by each omega k is equal to 2 pi by m into k coincides with the DFT samples, essentially. Now the idea behind this frequency sampling method is that suppose this is my continuous HD omega curve, but if I take the samples of this, or let us say you take a band pass filter, suppose this is a band pass filter from omega 1 to omega 2. Now only some of the frequency samples will be non-zero and remaining samples will be 0. So only these non-zero samples are going to play the role, and I should be able to design. So just a way of reduction in the computational cost, because my very few samples are going to be non-zero and remaining samples are going to be 0 in this technique. So HD omega is not given as a continuous function, but only at a set of discrete frequency samples which are given by this equation. So what I am giving is that my DTFT of the given FIR filter can be expressed as HM into to the power minus j omega n is equal to 0 to m minus 1. So this is the equation of the FIR filter. If Hn is of FIR duration, it will give me this filter. But this filter is not given at every omega, rather I am giving only samples of this at these discrete set of frequencies. So this is nothing but H evaluated at 2 pi by n into k plus alpha. So I am replacing omega by omega k, and this is by definition, let us say h k plus alpha. So using the definition of DFT, these frequency samples can be written as summation h of n e to the power minus j 2 pi by n into k plus alpha into n is equal to 0 to m minus 1. Or equivalently, in this equation I am replacing omega on both sides by this value. Now using this equation I will obtain h of n. That is the final thing. Using this DFT kind of relation, I can obtain my h of nh 1 upon n summation hk plus alpha e to the power j 2 pi by n k plus alpha into n and k equal to 0 to n minus 1. Same as DFT equation. So if I give you these frequency samples of DTFT, they are nothing but DFT. So if these coefficients are given using inverse DTFT relation, I can obtain the impulse response of the given filter, which is of course FIR, because I am giving you finite number of samples, capital M samples only. So HN is also going to be of duration capital M. Now again alpha can be 0 or alpha can be half. If alpha is 0, this equation reduces exactly to the DFT and IDFT. Is that fine? But generally alpha can also be chosen to be either 0 or half. And again, there you can optimize, you can obtain the impulse response of FIR filter or IIR filter using optimization techniques also. Optimization techniques also play an important role. So as far as course is concerned, only these two methods are there in the FIR: windowing and frequency sampling. But now just I am giving you one or two more techniques and then we will stop. So as I am mentioning, optimization plays an important role in the designing of filters, and large number of tools are available for optimization problems. Optimization means you are minimizing or maximizing something. Say if I give you the desired frequency response of the filter and suppose you obtain the actual response to be this, then let us say you are minimizing this error between actual response and desired response from minus pi to pi, and of course subject to some constraints, that my phase is linear or my energy is this much or my filter is of FIR duration. So you can have some constraints on minimization of the difference or say error between the desired frequency response and the actual filter response. And this optimization problem will give you the filter coefficients H of n. So either magnitude part can be taken in the optimization or phase part can be taken in the optimization. I can also say that phase of desired filter and phase of actual filter, and the error between them is minimized, or both of them I can minimize. So only error between magnitude response or error between phase response or both of them can be minimized. So depending upon the design criteria, you can have large number of solutions. Is that fine? Hello?
Yes, sir.
And the last which I can mention is, say your FIR Wiener filter. So essentially what I am saying is that suppose I am giving you one filter And if you pass it through an inverse filter, ideally, if you apply x of n, you should obtain the same signal back. That's the definition of inverse filter. Equivalently, in the time domain, I can say h of n convolved with its inverse filter. I should be able to get my delta n. Convolution of Hn with its inverse should give delta n. That's why if I apply Xn, I will get the same signal. Equivalently, h of z into h of inverse z. It should give me 1. So my inverse filter will be equal to 1 upon h of z. So if h of z is, let us say, an high pass filter, then this inverse filter is going to be a low pass filter, because whatever is the poles of this, they are converted into zeros of this because of 1 upon hz kind of relation. But even if my h of z is stable, your inverse filter may not be, because poles and zeros of hz and h inverse z, they are interchanged. Zeros of hz becomes poles of hij and vice versa. So essentially, if I give you a infinite duration HN, and if I desire this HIN to be of FIR, this is also possible. This is infinite. I want to design an optimum filter, FIR filter, such that the output is as close to delta n as possible, or error is minimized. So typically, let me mention the diagram and then I will stop. The overall FIR filter design is something like this. FIR filter coefficients. This is the desired response, which is ideally delta n. And if it is not delta n, there will be some error, and you have to minimize the sum of the squared error. You square it and sum it over all n, and then minimize it, and that will lead to a new set of coefficients, leakage. And my input signal is h of n. So given this h of n, which is a, let us say, low pass filter, then this FIR filter is going to be an high pass filter. So that the cascade of these two gives me delta n. And if whatever is the actual output of this filter, if it is yn, then yn minus dn, that forms the error. And the square of this error signal is to be minimized. I will choose the set of filter coefficients bk such that this sum of the squared error, that is e square n, sum over all n, will be minimized. And immediately you get one equation called Wiener filter equation. Minimization of sum of this. So ultimately, I will minimize error as summation n is equal to 0 to infinity between desired response minus actual response. Actual response is Vk Hn minus k equal to 0 to m, whole square. This is the error. dn minus yn. This is yn. So dn minus yn, that is the error, and you square it and sum it over out, and then this error is to be minimized. This minimization problem will immediately give me an equation in terms of leakage. And you are able to design an FIR filter which is inverse of HN. So if you want to design a high pass filter, you start with an ideal low pass filter impulse response. If you want to design low pass filter here, start with high pass here. And one solved problem is also given in the textbook. You can see how to find out leakage. It's a very simple thing. From given Hn, from given H of n, how to find these leakage. Simple matrix inversion will give leakage from given H of n. You see one example solved problem in the textbook. Is that fine? So I stop here and we will meet on Saturday at around 1:15 p.m. just to discuss one or two remaining things, and then discussing the entire course and discussing the examination also. Or your problems, if you have, you can collect your problems or topics or doubts. So only those can join in the class who want to discuss the questions or doubts or anything else. As far as by content or course is over, that is over. Is that fine?
Yes, sir.